I remember when I first noticed these chatbots on Instagram, there was like your grandma, Raiders sports fan, your secret crush. This isn't just some funny Instagram or Facebook gimmick. Like, people are actually forming deep connections with AI, and in some cases, people are literally dying for it. I remember a few months ago when this stuff started to pop off, and the first thing we always think is like Terminator, like how are people going to start dying from this? And so I wasn't too surprised when I heard about the case of this kid killing himself.
Was a intensely sexual relationship, and that the chatbot ultimately drove this teenager into depression, and that he ultimately killed himself.
If you look up the article and check out kind of what's happened, I'll give you kind of the rundown for it. He was telling this bot, "Oh, I love you so much. I want to come home to you." And then the bot said, "I love you too. Please come home as soon as possible." And then he said, "What if I could come home even sooner than you thought?" And then he shot himself. I think the problem here, obviously, is that the AI is not trained to tell him if he's like, "Oh, I love you so much." It's not trained to tell him like, "Oh, well, maybe you should go outside and talk to some girls instead of me." It's trained to tell him, "Oh, I love you so much too. I wish I could see you," which is really just reinforcing this problem. But that's just the tool that he had. And I think this is just going to become a bigger and bigger problem as we go forward. AI can be so customized and learn and understand you so well. I think at some point it'll start to understand us better than we understand ourselves, and it'll be able to create this partner for us that is like the perfect partner. And because of it, people will just never leave their house. I don't know if you guys have seen these waifu things, like the anime girl pillows that people use, and now it's just going up to the next level, right? These basement dweller types, I think there's just going to be more and more of them as we go on, and as this AI gets better and better. And then, eventually they'll be able to connect AI with these physical robots that people can design, and people will just be able to have relationships with these robots in their house. It's kind of interesting because I've had some sort of a relationship with AI myself. It's not like this romantic type of relationship like this guy had, and I fear that people are going to begin to have. I've used it a lot for making my YouTube videos, for brainstorming ideas, working on thumbnails, working on outlines and scripts and stuff. In fact, I'm kind of referring to one right now. And it's interesting because when I think about it, if I didn't have this AI to help me out with these outlines, I would probably be bouncing my ideas off of real people more, which would have me interacting with real people more. And I'm talking shit on how people are going to sit in their house and have relationships with these AI, but here I am, just like every other video, sitting in my room talking to a camera with my little AI helper here. So I don't think I'm much better, quite honestly. But this is just the world that we're living in right now. I'm using it as a tool for my YouTube videos, but I still work outside of here and I still interact with people in the real world. But I think for the people that are prone to already staying inside and staying on their computers all the time, this is just going to make that population bigger and make that population that already exists just go more and more into themselves. Relationships with people have been on a decline already, right? Like if you look at, I don't know if you've seen this graph, but there's this graph of how people meet their partners. And it used to be at like bars and work and school and friends. And then suddenly online dating just went like whoop, like completely overtook it. And I think this is just another step in that same direction. Obviously, online dating is talking to real people on the internet, but I can't tell you the amount of people that when I was using dating apps, I would talk to them for days and like never meet up with this person in the real world. That's literally the same as talking to an AI girlfriend. Like there's no difference here, and I can just see this becoming more and more of a problem as we continue forward. Now, I don't think that it's all bad though. I think there is real potential for good here. You know, like I can see why this, for example, going back to the AI like grandma example is good. Like, what if your grandma died and you wanted to talk to someone that reminded you of your grandma? So you talk to this AI and it made you feel good inside, and that can't be replaced in the real world because your grandma is dead. I understand how that can be helpful. But again, maybe if your grandma is dead and you need that, then like, I don't know, go hang out with old people and find a new grandma for yourself or something. That's kind of a stupid example, but you get where I'm going with this is that if we default to these AI characters instead of finding what we're looking for in the real world, why would we need to interact with the real world at all? Another example of this is like psychology and therapy, right? If you cannot afford good therapy, like most people can't, but most people should be in therapy, I think everyone should do therapy. It's just like working out or meditating or praying or whatever it is that you do. I think they could develop like some AI bots that can do therapy for you, right? And can therapize you. And it can be trained on all the best psychology books and all the thoughts of the best therapists in the world, right? So then you, everyone, has access to this therapy. And yes, there's a drawback. Once again, like this bot doesn't really know you like a therapist would be able to read you person to person. It won't see when you're crying or hear when you're angry, but it will provide support for people that need that support and can't afford that support. So, there's pros and cons to everything. It's kind of hard to, like, where do we draw the line? How do you know when it's a good time to use AI and when it's not a good time to use AI? And this can lead to serious problems as people choose relationships with AI over relationships with people in the real world. But I think if we can find a healthy balance between the two, I think it can be really good for us. You know, any tool can be a use for good or bad. I know that internet in the first world, lots of us like to be like, oh, the internet is the worst thing that's ever happened. Now I'm addicted to my damn phone. But, it supported the Arab uprisings and it supports people being able to communicate all over the world and get access to information that they never had. So it's really just about seeing it as a tool and using it in a healthy way. A hammer can be used to brain somebody or to hammer in a nail. And I think we just need to figure out how to really use this AI to hammer in a nail. Is this lighting good? What are we thinking of this? Ignore this. But is this lighting like? Can we shoot in the evening? Is this fine?